Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 200 of the Sanderlanche podcast. That's right, we've been doing this for 200 episodes now, and you have been listening quite possibly for 200 episodes. So kudos to you just as much as us for making it this
good
far.
on you.
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about 5 chapters of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. That's chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Wherein things go poorly for Shallan and very poorly for Jasnah, as we lose Jasnah in the first chapter. And then things don't go real well for Dalinar either in his new attempt at politicking. Kaladin comes up with a way to try to get the new I was going to say new bridgemen, but they're not bridgemen anymore. The former bridgemen to really appreciate the training. Then we get a flashback, the first flashback we've had in this book, followed by Shallan recovering from what happened in the previous chapter and meeting up with one of our oldest and dearest friends, Crazy Vaclav. So I'm Data, and with me today is
Dak and Joe.
And Jamie.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, we did 5 chapters this time, and before we get into it, I'm going to do something that I meant to do all the way back in the first episode and completely forgot about till now. You guys may remember that on the back of the original Way of Kings, the original US edition that I read, we talked about sometime in the middle of the last book too. I forgot to do that at the beginning. There is some stuff that was written by someone in universe. The same thing is true of this one. The original version that came out had a little bit written by someone in universe, and so I'm going to read that one here, and we may have to see, we'll have Dak and Jamie tell us if it's anything like what they have on the back of their book, since it was different on theirs last time. But so this is another thing that was written by some as yet unknown, because I don't think we ever found out who wrote the last one either. So maybe the same person, maybe not, but it's in a similar sort of style at least. So here it is. The Knights Radiant must stand again. The ancient oaths have at last been spoken. The Spren return. Men seek that which was lost. I fear the struggle will destroy them. It is the nature of the magic. A broken soul has cracks into which something else can be fit. Surge bindings, the powers of creation themselves, they can brace a broken soul, but they can also widen its fissures. The Windrunner, lost in a shattered land, balanced upon the boundary between vengeance and honor. The Light Weaver, slowly being consumed by her past, searching for the lie that she must become. The Bondsmith, born in blood and death, striving to rebuild what was destroyed. The Explorer, straddling the fates of two peoples, forced to choose between slow death and a terrible betrayal of all she believes. It is past time for them to awaken, for the Everstorm looms, and the assassin has arrived. So yeah, that's that.
Funny stuff. Very cheery. Great disposition. That's exactly what you want in your blurb.
Ice creams and puppies for all.
Sure. Who doesn't like a nice puppy to eat?
Was the back of y'all's book similar to this?
We got a truncated version of that. Ours just says, the Knights Radiant must stand again. The Windrunner is lost in a shattered land. The Lightweaver is slowly being consumed by her past. The Bondsmith strives to rebuild what was destroyed. The Explorer straddles the fates of two peoples. It's time for them to awaken, for the Everstorm looms, and the assassin has arrived.
Okay, so at least unlike last time, pretty much the same, just a little bit left off. Okay.
Yeah, we got similar. The only one where a gender is confirmed is for the Lightweaver. Doesn't really say much about the rest. So it's like, okay, so the Lightweaver is a her, and so is the Explorer, according to yours. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Interesting. That opens up predictions, because our 3 main characters really are Kaladin, Adolin, and Dalinar. And sorry, not Adolin, Shallan.
I thought it was weird you were putting Adolin in there. Usually
Sorry.
usually you're not a big fan, so.
I don't dislike the guy, but it's like compared to the other three, he's gotten like his importance to the story hasn't been as big lately.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so there's 2 males and 2 females there, so yeah. Thoughts? I have thoughts.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can incorporate y'all thoughts into our normal start. So, what did you guys think of these 5 chapters?
Man, roller coaster. What the fuck happened to Shallan in the past? What the fuck happened to her in the present? Yeah, so as far as the attack on the boat goes, I won't go into too much detail because I have heavy predictions about those. But it was cool. Like Shallan's thing is like, oh, let's just turn the whole boat into water. I'm like, man, like, did you actually just doom everyone by doing that?
That's one way to go, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember, like, was it last week or the week before? Like, you threw out a mention. It's like, oh man, we haven't seen Crazy Vlarkov in a while. I'm like, oh, you fucking now he's back.
I think that was last week, and I honestly didn't really. I knew it was coming, but I didn't realize it was coming quite so soon. So I was like,
okay.
Oh, that's kind of transparent. All right.
Yep. Now looking back, I'm just like, not that I'm complaining. I love that guy, but yeah, that was all good. Interesting to see Dalinar and his buddy Aladar talking. Like, at least the guy's up front about why he hates everything that Dalinar's doing and won't adhere to it. Even though I still think him as that fucking iguanodon from that Disney movie. But yeah, I'm just baffled as to what the fuck happened in Shallan's past. I guess. All right, we're gonna see her backstory now and whatever the hell she did. We know that she killed her dad, but did she kill everyone else? Is that what we're getting out of this?
Everyone. She killed them all.
Yeah, I'm at such a loss. Unless the dad killed them all, and like eventually she just snapped and went, no, enough's enough, and killed him. Like, I have so many questions. Yeah, like a lot of tantalizing things here. I will say that the first epigraph we got was like Navani was talking about her grief. Like, oh, like we lost Gavilar and like I was hurt, but this nearly killed me. I'm just like, okay, I don't think Dalinar's about to die. Is Elhokar about to die? And then in the chapter, it's like, oh, it's Jasnah. I'm like, okay. Well, one, like, she has to get that news, so I guess that means that's a foregone conclusion that Shallan will make it to the Shattered Plains with Jasnah's stuff as proof of who she's talking about. But, yeah, lots of thoughts of the boat attack.
Okay. Well, we'll get there pretty soon, so that works out. And now that you mentioned that, yes, we started with this one Shallan flashback, I was waiting until you guys saw evidence of it to let you know that the way that the Stormlight Archive works is every book focuses on the flashbacks and backstories of a character. So Kaladin was the first one. Shallan is this one.
Interesting.
So you get a very big impression when you read Way of Kings that Kaladin's like the main character because that's the book that's about his past. And so as we go through this one, Shallan feels like she comes a little more to the fore because it's about her past with the flashbacks and such.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
But yeah, there's I'm interested to hear what you have to say when we get to the boat stuff. So okay, let's go.
Yeah, hey, a lot of stuff happened in these chapters. I was a little shocked that some of my predictions came true. Wasn't quite expecting it. You make the prediction, you throw it out there. The payoff was very immediate, so I was like, oh man. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. Going along with that, I'll just pre-spoil a predicament. I think I'm going to stand with part of my predicament from last week that even though it appears Jasnah is dead, she is not dead. I'm going to stick with that because I feel like she's too good of a character to be dead off page like that. Because I mean, she pretty much died off page in this. Plus,
I mean, she got stabbed pretty clearly on page, but
I didn't. I guess maybe she did. I don't remember that. I know that she went in the bed and saw blood. I didn't remember that it said that she was stabbed like on page, but
maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong. We'll see, I guess, in a minute.
Yeah, but the big red herring to me is that the body was missing, and I was like, I don't know about that. So we got that. Things are going well for Kaladin seemingly, training up these dudes. Dalinar's having a rough time persuading people, which isn't super surprising, But yeah, Shallan's flashback and then running into the slaver that sold Kaladin, very interesting. So I'm definitely, now knowing that Shallan is going to be kind of the flashback character in this, I'm very interested to see, because I feel like we got to know Kaladin pretty well in that first book, and I feel like we were all kind of wanting to know Shallan more, so this will give us that opportunity, which is good. So I'm excited for that. And other than that, I have thoughts about the blurb on the back of the book. Certain descriptions of different named characters kind of line up in my head. So these different titles that we hadn't heard before, though, very interested to know, exactly what they mean.
Which people did you have connected to which like names or whatever in here?
Well, specifically, could you read the part about Lightweaver again?
The Lightweaver slowly being consumed by her past, searching for the lie that she must become.
Yeah, so that to me is Shallan, because it's talking about searching about her past and lies.
100%.
So that lines up with Shallan. The Explorer sounds like Jasnah to me, which is another reason why I don't think she's dead.
Okay.
And then based on, what was it? The Oathbinder?
The Windrunner and the Bondsmith are the two.
Bondsmith. The Bondsmith to me is Dalinar, and the Windrunner then would have to be Kaladin.
Okay. I mean, we did hear the term Windrunner used in the last book to describe like the things that Kaladin can do.
Right. Exactly. So that's why that fits to me. But yeah, that one, the one that I'm matching up to Dalinar is very interesting title to me. I want to know like what it means, because like it just kind of made sense because he's the other main character, but like I don't know what that means except for he's trying to unify these people.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you recall, but in the last section that we read, Jasnah gives Shallan that book about the Words of Radiance book, and she said, among the Knights Radiant, there was an order known as Lightweavers. This is like the best source of information I have about them.
Well, there you go. That helps me confirm that they're talking about old Shallan.
So yeah, okay.
Or young Shallan, I guess she's
young Shallan, right? She's not too old. It's fine.
That's her rapper name, Young Shallan.
Old Shallan could be the rapper name. I don't know.
No, you don't want to be old anything in the rap game.
Okay, yeah.
Because I know so much about the rap game.
Yeah, Joe, he wrote the spook rap. He's a professional.
I didn't write it. I performed it. That was a listener.
You wrote the other one.
Yeah, I wrote I wrote part of one, but I never really completed it. Something about shouting less to Borns and stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so obviously we started off, hit the ground running pretty quickly. I was a little surprised, though. It's like we finished that chapter of like she woke up to smoke. And I love that we jumped to the ship is on fire. It's like, no, they've just got some like flame. Why are they holding flame torches on a boat? That doesn't make any sense. And like the fire is gone at this point. So I liked the misdirect, but obviously a lot of bad stuff going down. I got to say, I am with Joe on Jasnah not being dead. I was going to bring it up later, but it's already out there. So yeah, no body remaining, no proof that she's still there. We did see on page that she'd been stabbed, and then we did see them stab her again. But people have survived weirder things,
Okay.
Yeah, I think when Shallan went back in there and she was like conscious of Jasnah's body, like I feel like if she was dead, there almost wouldn't have been a need to call out that the body wasn't there. Like maybe they took the body with them. Like it's a bit weird. Also, Cabsal, same crew, pretty incompetent with the jam and the bread. These guys may also just be super incompetent. You never know.
Maybe this is why Kelsier decides he needs to up his recruiting standards when Marisai is around.
Yeah, like this could be the catalyst. Got a whole team of idiots. Yeah. So that was interesting. And I quite liked that scene. Dalinar playing the political game. He's really got his work cut out for him. That's just going to get harder and harder. I'm quite enjoying reading Navani's journal because it's all happening pretty close to, but also pretty relevant to what's happening as well. So like the events that she's talking about are really unfolding in this book. Like we know that at the time the events are happening, she hasn't written it yet, but it's all pretty closely related. So I don't have anything really specific to say about them, but I'm just enjoying reading them as they're coming through. I did not expect to then lose Jasnah immediately after she was talking about her grief. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe. I think it's a very similar process to Joe as well. I was like, Dalinar's going to die. No, but we went through this last time, and I just don't think it's Dalinar's time. And if we've got flashbacks, there's probably now a book with Dalinar that's going to happen. So maybe he doesn't even die in this book. Maybe he doesn't die at all. He's a pretty big player, not to say Jasnah wasn't. But, yeah, I didn't necessarily pick Jasnah as the person who was going to die or appear to die. What have we got? Kaladin back down in the chasms. Super fun. About to start his testing with Sigil. So that'll be... I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. I do like the relationship between Syl and Rock. That was a bit of a cute interaction between the two of them. And finally, some questions, you know. Am I the only one? Are there more? No. Yeah, I was wondering when you're going to ask that question. So that's, hopefully that sort of sets us onto a path of finding more Knights Radiant. And then, Shallan coming in with the slavers, like, risky move, but hopefully Jasnah had one last impactful lesson, and that works in her favour. Not sure how Kaladin would feel, like, having the slaver rock back up to the Shattered Plains with this woman. I think on the other side, there's going to be a really interesting dynamic. And she's like, I want to see the king. And Kaladin's like, like, this guy is not coming anywhere near all of us. So that will be very, very interesting. But yeah, my feet hurt reading about Shallan's feet hurting also. Like, that was just ouch. I was like, why doesn't she have shoes? She was asleep. Makes sense not to have shoes. And then the ship melted, so there was no time to get shoes. Makes sense. But yeah, that's my thoughts in a nutshell. Good chapters. I always like when we get the short, sharp chapters, because there's a lot happening and a lot going on, and it's too early to be hitting like lots of real stuff going on. I realize we're going to get to the more extensive chapters as well, but it was a fun read this week.
I like what you said about like her showing up at the Shattered Plains with this guy, because in Kaladin's life, there's few people who would be worse to show up with if you want Kaladin's trust. Like maybe if Amaram showed up, that would be worse. If you somehow showed up with Sadeas is already there, so no. Maybe Gaz. So like, of the people we know, there's not many people who'd be worse than the guy who sold him as a slave. So yeah,
and probably a bunch of the other bridgemen also.
True.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, all of them are going, no,
Thought of
you're
that.
not getting within a mile of this area. Go away.
But also what you said about maybe Dalinar's not going to die, maybe he'll have his own book. That's one of the things that I was excited about now that I finally get to tell you guys that each book is kind of focused on a person and their history, because now you get to guess at who the other books are focused on.
Yay!
So there's something else that you guys can predict at some point, I guess.
Calling it now. Book 3 is Oathbringer. That's Dalinar's sword, which Sadeas has. So Book 3 will be Dalinar's.
Oh yeah, I mean that makes sense. I guess it could also be Sadeas, but once him.
No one wants Sadeas's backstory.
I mean, we didn't call it out last time, but we got a Sadeas perspective without him being named on the perspective characters page.
Yep.
So no, he broke the rules. He can fuck right off.
Purely because it was written into the chapter.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dex reading the book, he's like, am I the only one who gives a shit about the rules?
I mean, last time it was like Teft before that, right? So
yeah,
that was like half a chapter though.
Okay.
And like,
also we like Teft.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah. Sadeas wasn't a full chapter.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when we had that Straff Venture perspective, and we were like, ugh, why is this happening?
Why are we in his head? Ew.
Yeah, he's got his concubine with him. It's weird.
Also, I have to say that I agree with Jamie about liking Navani's journals as the epigraph. The epigraphs in the last book were generally pretty interesting, I think. The letter may have been my favorite, but there's something to be said for these things that you're like, okay, I don't understand everything she's saying. It's clearly teasing some things, but at least I can understand what the hell I'm reading. Like,
yeah, there was that disconnect in the first book. It's like, okay, what does this actually fucking mean?
Yeah. Like, you get the people's last words, and you're like, okay, well, I kind of get that these are people's last words, but where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Why is it important? What are they saying? So yeah, there's something to be said for something that you can at least mostly understand as the epigraph. Even the letter, which I like the letter part, but it's like we're having to work hard to guess at maybe what it's talking about. And also, I have to say, since Joe and Jamie are both very much like Jasnah's not dead, at this point in the book, when I first read it, I was definitely hoping that somehow she was not dead, because I like Jasnah. As a character, I think she's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think she's probably like my second favorite character. I think Kaladin's my favorite, and then she's my second favorite.
I should probably throw this out there now. That was my prediction. I was saying to the end of the episode, it's like, Jasnah ain't dead.
So we're all on Team Jasnah surviving.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
But like, fuck it, we'll do this now. You know, she's always the person who's crazy prepared for anything. She has a spread buddy who can shapeshift to some extent. We don't know how much. And her power is transforming things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she could easily just like transform. Like, the first idea I had in my head is like she transformed something into like a copy of her to get stabbed while she disappeared. Maybe it was one of her attackers, but maybe she could use it for like super healing as well. It's like, I got a knife wound, not anymore. Let's turn that into not a hole or something. So I don't know how, but I feel fairly comfortable that her powers have helped her survive whatever went down. And then I think she's probably just escaped into the cognitive realm.
Interesting. Okay. See, and so like I will continue with like I definitely did not want Jasnah to be dead. I think that we've only begun to like scratch the surface of how interesting she can be. At the same time, it like I feel like if you look at the tropes, it fits, because this is like Shallan is the more main character, and this is the older, more experienced, more knowledgeable mentor figure, and she knows all these secrets, which she's just begun. She's like, okay, Shallan, you've progressed to the point where I will begin sharing all of these secrets with you. That is exactly the time that kind of character dies.
Oh, sure. Like, it's a total Obi-Wan thing. But yeah, no, I just unless she did like Obi-Wan did and let herself be killed, which does not jive with Shallan's character, with Jasnah's character at all.
Yeah.
No, I don't buy it. She alive. And I feel comfortable saying that because like I predicted Marsh was still alive and that worked out, so maybe it'll work for this one.
Nice. Going 2 for 2. Okay.
Yeah.
I also like that you're just like, look, we know Jasnah well enough. She's not just gonna let some loser kill her.
Yep.
That's a good point.
I think she's probably ducked into the cognitive realm, waited for the coast to clear, and then was going to come back and get Shallan. And then she came back and the boat was gone, turned into water. She's like, what the fuck happened?
But I mean, Shallan kind of dips into the cognitive realm at the same time, doesn't she? When she like makes the boat turn into water.
Yeah, but we don't know the rules on how that works in that place. Like, it could be crazy, like hectic in there, and maybe they just drifted apart in the storm.
Yeah,
like, the boat was still moving, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Let's do this. Let's get into these chapters. So, chapter 7, Open Flame, and we get Navani's journal. I was unprepared for the grief of my loss brought, like an unexpected rain, breaking from a clear sky and crashing down upon me. Gavilar's death had been overwhelming, but this nearly crushed me. And I like that this sent you guys thinking, like, oh my gosh, is Dalinar gonna die? How unexpected would that be right at the beginning of the second book? We're 10% in it, so I guess we're not exactly right at the beginning anymore. But
no, I was sort of the same. I'm just like, I don't think this is Dalinar, because we predicted that all last book and it didn't happen. So I feel like there's going to be more for him. And that's what, and it never occurred to me for a second that Jasnah would die. So I'm like, well, like that can't be that. So I think, well, it's got to be Elhokar then. I guess
that also would have been a shock, though, right? If Elhokar just suddenly died.
I mean, it could still be maybe like Elhokar's dead and Rise Navani's coping with that. Shallan rocks up and goes, by the way, your daughter's dead too.
Oof. Okay, yeah, that could crush you.
Well,
both of your children suddenly dying.
Lost both your kids. Sorry about that. See you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, can I marry your nephew, by the way? Because your daughter totally promised me that.
I mean, Navani was all in on Shallan marrying Adolin, so maybe that's how she copes. Is like, you are the closest thing I have to a daughter right now, so we are going to get you fucking married. And Shallan's like, ah.
If Elhokar dies, like his infant son becomes, or toddler, however young he was, becomes the king of Alethkar. That could be interesting.
oh yeah, it's like Navani does the like, oh yeah, you are the closest thing I have to a daughter. Don't you have a daughter-in-law? Fuck her.
I didn't get the impression Navani loved her daughter-in-law that much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jasnah in the prologue seemed to think she was up to something.
Yeah, like was going to have her assassinated, and it was like, maybe that's a little rash.
Yeah.
So I think Jamie's right. No one likes her. That's
She's the worst.
We're going to meet her, and she's going to turn out to be just actually a lovely individual that everyone misreads, and we're all going to be like, oh, now we feel bad.
Yeah, it could be.
Nah, she's an Ariane for sure.
So Shallan gets up, and there's a very powerful smell of smoke, and she opens the door, and there's 3 guys in the passageway with torches. And she's like, what the? Torches? Who brings open flame onto a ship? This is a bad idea. But the ship's not on fire, so that's good. But also there's dudes with axes, and they're over at Jasnah's cabin, which is open. And so she looks inside, and a body in a thin nightgown, eyes staring sightlessly, blood blossoming from the breast. It was Jasnah. So there is a body that has been hurt and has blood coming out, and then one of the men goes, be sure. And we see another guy ram a long, thin knife right into Jasnah's chest. Shallan hears it hit the wood floor beneath the body. And then she screams, which maybe is not the best idea. These guys weren't paying attention to you. And it turns out the new kid is part of this crew, so that's no good. Although
Another
I think
predicament?
Yep.
Confirmed.
Let's say I'm pretty sure Joe predicted that he was up to no good last time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't introduce a new kid like that and be like, look, there's a new guy. It's like, wait, that new guy, that's fishy.
I think
No pun intended.
Both
Joe and Jamie pointed that out, and I was the only one who didn't. So then when I read this chapter immediately afterwards, I was like, well, I'm an idiot.
And so Shallan goes back to her room and locks herself in. Is like, okay, what the hell do I do now? Pattern goes, sword. The sword. And Shallan says, no. And Pattern says, fight. And she says, no again. And Pattern goes, lies. I don't know how to use lies. I haven't practiced. So, yeah, she's in trouble. And he tells her
when he started saying sword, I was getting serious. Is that oh god, what's his Nightblood vibes? And I was like, oh, is Patton going to become the sword?
Pattern is like,
he'd have to be more
to
excited than that. Yeah, he'd have to be more excited than that. He'd have to be like, use me, kill with me, please.
pick me. It's like Donkey trying to go on the journey with Shrek.
Yeah,
pick me.
It's your old buddy Nightblood.
Oh my god, it's Nightblood's origin story.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I like this. Nightblood used to be his friend like Pattern, and he somehow turned into a sword. Although we know where Nightblood came from.
Yeah.
No, we know who
Nightblood's
created him.
more of a.
It doesn't necessarily have to have been created on.
What
was that planet's name? It was just
Nalthus.
Nalthus. Yeah.
Nalthus, yeah.
It could have just been like the people created him, came to Roshar via perpendicularity, made him, took him back. That's why he's just so fucking crazy out of place there.
No, Nightblood always struck me as like a robot Santa type. You know, they created him to like differentiate between good and evil, and he's just like everybody's evil.
Yeah, a little bit. So she gets some stormlight, and is like, okay, what now? And Pattern says, shape the lie. And she's like, what the fuck does that mean? Make the truth. That makes no sense. But she somehow manages to create a thing. Like the door breaks open, and it's a cloud of light leapt from her body, forming a vague upright shape, an illuminated blur, and it goes past the guys, and they think that she's run down the hall, so they go after her. Or
Cheese it.
what they think is her.
It's good. Yeah. It gave me Halo 3 like hologram vibes.
I can see that. Yeah.
She made a hologram of herself, and they just like, oh, chase it.
Yeah. So like we see Shallan doing it right here. This could be exactly what Jasnah did, minus the running and more of the stabbing.
Okay. No, I see what you mean. Yeah. If she's more advanced than Shallan, so she could do some stuff.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, these guys must be from that same group Cabsol was from. And oh crap, Jasnah's dead. And then she sends Pattern up to take a look at what's going on the deck. And Pattern comes back and says that the dark men are killing sailors tied in ropes. And so she figured they're executing the sailors one by one for some reason. Who knows why? And they think that she jumped in the water.
Yeah. It's too bad it's not 2x2 hands of blue. You know what I'm saying?
Firefly.
I just have a mental image. Like, they're killing everyone up top, except this one guy. He just took a swan dive off the side of the boat and just yelling, Yalb! The whole way down. That's how Yalb comes back.
So Shallan gets an idea. We're going to soul cast the bottom of the ship and sink it. And I love Pattern's like, what? Humans eat water? And she's like, well, we drink it, but we can't breathe it. Confused. And so Pattern says that he will intercede to help her try to soul cast. And all of a sudden she's like in Shadesmar, and she finds like the wind's pleasure, the little bead that represents the ship. And it's like, I need you to change. And the ship's like, no. I can't change. I must serve. I am happy.
I'm a ship.
Yeah, the ship has been doing this for a long time and wants to keep doing it. It's kind of proud of itself for what a good job it's always done serving. And Shallan's like, I got Stormlight, lots of Stormlight I can give you. And the ship's like, no. But then Shallan's like, but the people are dying. You can feel their blood on your deck. If you don't, this is our only chance to save them. This is how you can serve. Try to save the people of that serve on you by changing for them. And the boat is like, all right, I'll change. And the entire ship turns to water, and she falls into the water and darkness, and that's the end of the chapter. That's a hell of a plan, Shallan. I mean, I guess it could have been worse. She could have turned it into fire.
Like the whole boat just turns into water. She does the Wile E. Coyote thing where she just looks down. So like, oh dear.
It doesn't bode well for her shipmates, given that they were apparently tied up. Might make swimming tricky. And so then we move to knives in the back, soldiers in the field. And Navani's journal says that I'm not using my grief as an excuse, but it's an explanation. People act weird after they encounter an unexpected loss. And though Jasnah had been away for some time, her loss was unexpected. I, like many, assumed her to be immortal, which people on the podcast apparently assuming the same thing here. They're like, nah, she ain't dead. So you guys are agreeing with Navani.
I mean, I didn't say she was immortal. I just said she's not dead.
She's not dead
fair.
now.
Yeah.
Later, maybe.
She ain't going out with no knife in her chest like some punk bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's taken a bigger crowd than this group on page before.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
She could have turned those guys to smoke if she was awake.
Yeah, she wasn't awake though. They stabbed her. So Dalinar's heading out on a chasm run. Except Dalinar, he doesn't have his armor or his sword anymore. He's not planning to actually fight this time. That's now Adolin's job. So and he's paired himself up with High Prince Aladar's people. And so they're out here fighting. And he's got some bridgemen, one of Captain Kaladin's dark-eyed officers in the lead, defending him out here. And Dalinar had promised Kaladin his men wouldn't have to fight except to defend him, and so that'll be the case today, because he's not actually going to go get into the battle. Adolin's personal banner is flying because he's leaving the army. I wonder what his personal banner looks like. I don't think we're told. And so he goes to talk to High Prince Aladar, who also does not tend to fight on the front lines. He hangs back and he takes tactical command, not a middle of the battle sort of dude. He is a shard bearer, but he lends his plate and blade to one of his officers during the battle. And here's where we get some information where we talked about before how this lending thing works, where a practiced shard bearer can mentally command a blade not to dissolve when he lets it go. Though in an emergency, he can summon it back, which means that lending a blade requires a great deal of trust on both sides, because you don't want to be in the middle of battle and all of a sudden the blade poofs out of your hand.
I had to chop some firewood. What?
Yeah, what can I tell you? And so Dalinar is here to convince Aladar to see why what he's trying to do is good. He tries to talk about honor, and Aladar's like, don't talk to me about honor. I can't pay my soldiers with honor. Your plan favors the weakest among us and undercuts the successful. And Dalinar's like, okay, fine. Don't care about honor? How about you're going to do what the king tells you to do, or else? It's like, or else what? Ask Yennev. So 10 years back, High Prince Yennev had refused to accept the unification. At Gavilar's order, Sadeas had dueled the man and killed him. And Aladar's like, oh, you're threatening me, huh? And Dalinar's like, yes, that is what I am doing.
I like this, no longer fucking around Dalinar.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to work that well for him. But
I was going to say, I like it too, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yet,
fair. Yeah.
I think he realizes it doesn't work because not everybody's El Hokar, where he can just beat him up and be like, okay, you're going to do what I say now.
Yeah, true.
And then Aladar starts to give some orders. Oh, the Parshendi are pushing too hard. Do this thing so we can surround them. And Dalinar's like, no. They're about to pull back, actually. So if you do this, it'll be better. And Aladdar's like, I'm taking point on this run, so by your rules, I get final say over tactics. And Dalinar's like, I mean, yeah, I'm just observing. I'm not even commanding my own army today. You do you. Then Alador's like, fine, assume Dalinar's right, and it turns out that Dalinar was right. And when it goes exactly how Dalinar predicted, Alador's like, damn it, I hate that you're so good at this.
Maybe you should listen to me more often, jerk ass.
He's like, proves that he knows what he's talking about, but dude still doesn't want to listen. And then Dalinar gets a spyglass and spots the Parshendi Shardbearer that he'd previously fought that almost killed him. It's like, what's he doing out there? Why didn't he like participate in the battle? They could have gotten that gem heart. And then Aladar's like, wait, some of them are just standing out there watching even after the battle? Have you ever seen them do that before? And Aladar's like, no. Like, And this goes with Navani's journal where we find out this specific thing that it's like they started acting differently, and one of the things was they were hanging around after battles. So
we have seen that though. Like, didn't Kaladin see it in some of the battles like he was running bridges on? He's like, oh, why are the Shardbearers just up there not doing anything?
I think we did see it maybe one other time, and I don't remember if it was Kaladin or Dalinar, but somebody did notice, like, after the battle, that the Shardbearer was out there, and they hadn't seen him in the fight. I think that's right. But in this one, it seems like more than just the Shardbearer, because Aladar's like, wait, are some of them just hanging out over there?
Okay, I thought it was a whole group of them before, and just no one gave a shit.
But yeah, it seems to fit with Navani's journal, so we're starting to see what she said come true in here.
Kind of like the idea that effectively this guy is Dalinar's equivalent on the other side, and they're all evolving together. Like Dalinar's no longer on the plains, and then this guy is no longer on the plains, and they've made assumptions about their intelligence and all that sort of stuff before. It's like, we'll finally see that they're actually more intelligent and civilized than we give them credit for. More organized.
I like that idea. That would be pretty cool. We still haven't seen anything from their perspective really, and don't know much about them, but that would be cool. So Dalinar says, you trusted me about tactics. Why not trust me like with what's best for the kingdom? And Aladar's like, okay, look, I wish I could. It's not about you. Maybe I could trust you, but I can't trust the other high princes. And if I put myself at risk following you, then they will do to me what Sadeas did to you. So I'm not doing it.
So that's an open secret now. Everyone knows exactly what Sadeas did, but no one's going to call him on it.
Well, I mean, Dalinar's entire army came back, and there's no reason for any of them to try to keep it a secret. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
I guess, but I just wasn't expecting one of the other high princes to just say it to Dalinar's face.
Yeah, that's fair. And Dalinar's like, well, what if I could bring the others around, get them to prove that they're worthy of your trust? Then will you follow me? And she's like, no, sorry. And Dalinar's not happy.
Like, I don't think you could do that. See ya.
So he's not happy. His plan is not going the way he wants it. He can't convince anybody to be on his side, and he only has 62 days left. Well, 60 now, according to whatever the message that was scratched into the wall. And he says, to foretell the future was forbidden. It was of the Voidbringers. Even games of chance were suspect, but he believed it anyway, for he suspected his own hand had written those words.
Bum, bum, bum.
So that was, I think Joe called, or was it Dak, who was just like, but wait, like Dalinar kind of like went blank for a bit there, right? And then the words appeared, so maybe there's a connection.
I don't remember. One of us said that.
Yeah, I don't remember. That was a while ago now.
It was like also 2 episodes ago. How am I supposed to remember?
It also fits with like Kaladin keeps kicking himself, like, man, how did I let somebody get in? And Dalinar's like, dude, it's fine.
He's like, it was me. I did it. Don't worry about it.
So we move on to chapter 9, Walking the Grave. Most of these are shorter chapters, which is why we had so many this time, but we're kind of moving along pretty quick because they're not really that lengthy. I wish to think that had I not been under Sorrow's thumb, I would have seen earlier the approaching dangers. Yet in all honesty, I'm not certain anything could have been done, which that doesn't really tell us anything, but it's just teasing. So they head down. Kaladin is heading down into the chasms again, just like back in the day when they were on chasm duty. And I love the difference where it's like back in Sadeas' army, we had really shitty rope ladders that you felt like you were going to die every time you went up or down. This one was brand new because Kaladin had gone to the quartermaster and been like, hey, I need a rope ladder to get down into the chasm. And he was like, what? Why the hell would you want to do that? And so he had to make it new because there had never been a use for this before. And so back in Sadeas' army, they had to go down into the chasms and scrounge and scavenge for stuff. Here, nobody's been down here. It's just there's dead bodies and shit everywhere. And I do love, like, when they get down here, Teft is like, what a mess. This place hasn't seen any kind of care at all. As if that's you guys were out of the goodness of your heart cleaning to make sure that it stayed neat down in the bottom of the chasm. It's back in Sadeas' army. And Rock's like, it is a grave. We walk in a grave. And Teft's like, all of the chasms are graves. This one's just a messy grave. And then Kaladin's like, hard to find death that isn't messy, Teft. And Teft's like, yeah, okay. And so they brought 40 bridgemen down with them, 2 from each squad, which is how we established it was going to work earlier. They're going to train a couple guys from each squad and send them back to train their squads. And so they get these guys down here, and Teft is like, take a good look. This is where we came from. This is why some call us the Order of Bone, which that's a new one. Very dramatic.
Rock leans over. He's like, nobody calls us that.
Teft's like, I do. I'm some people. So there you go. Let's see. And as he's watching the training, he's proud of himself, and a swarm of small glowing orbs materialize around his head. Glory Spren. And Scylla's like, oh, feeling proud of yourself, huh? They have a discussion about the laws of nature, and Scylla's like, nature doesn't have laws. Laws are of men. And if I toss something upward, it comes back down. And she goes, well, yeah, except when it doesn't. It's not a law. It's more like an agreement among friends.
Which I guess when we think about like what Seth does with his powers, that's true. Like,
yeah,
he just makes gravity do whatever he wants.
Pretty convenient thing to be able to do. Syl, I love Syl. She's just like, a snort is not a chuckle, Kaladin. I know this because I'm intelligent and articulate. You should compliment me now. She's just so, I don't know. And then he goes, Dalinar Kholin wants to refound the Knights Radiant. And she goes, yeah, a brilliant idea. I wish I'd thought of it. Oh, wait. And then she's upset because, has that ever struck you as unfair that Spren can't attract Spren? I really should have had my own glory Spren right there. And so he's still concerned about how someone snuck into Dalinar's room. He goes, could a Spren have made those glyphs somehow? She says, I don't know. I've seen Spren like red lightning. Dangerous Spren I haven't seen before. I catch them in the distance on occasion. Storm Spren? Something dangerous is coming. And this is where he goes, Syl, are there others like me? And she goes, oh, that question. You've been expecting it? Yeah, sort of. Okay, so you've had plenty of time to think about the answer. Maybe you've come up with a good explanation or a good lie. And she's like, lie? What do you think I am? A cryptic? He goes, what's a cryptic? And she's like, I actually have no idea. Huh.
We've heard that before. That was Shallan and Jasnah were talking about cryptics, weren't they?
She says
Pat's a cryptic.
Pattern.
That's
cryptic.
right.
She
Yeah.
said, yeah, I was going to say. She said Shallan's Spren is a cryptic.
Right.
Or that's what they like to call themselves, at least. They don't like to be called lie Spren. And Kaladin is not happy about this, that she said a thing and then it was, I don't know what that means. And she's like, no, seriously, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know what I don't even know what I don't know. And he goes, that doesn't make any sense. And she goes, well, imagine how frustrating it feels. Which, yeah, that's fair. That would be very upsetting. And she says that coming into this realm was dangerous for her. Where were you before? Another place with lots of Spren? I can't remember well. Coming here risked death. Without you, without a mind born of this realm, I couldn't think. Alone, I was just another wind Spren. So maybe that explains why the Spren seem to take a while to do things once they get here. Why Pattern started out really dumb, but he seems to be making some progress. And eventually she's like, there are others like you. I don't know them, but I know other Spren are trying in their own way to reclaim what was lost. I'm the only honor Spren who's come. I was forbidden. I came anyway to find you. I spent time with my cousins searching the Wind Spren. So the Wind Spren are her cousins. All right. Let's see. What we do is important, so important that I left everything defying the Storm Father to come. You saw him in the storm. Cal's like, oh yeah, I remember that. The face of a Spren, a herald, a god, whatever it was.
Spooky.
Yeah. And she tells him, you are what Dalinar Kholin is looking for. Don't let him search in vain. And he's like, but they'll take you. They'll take it from me. They'll take you from me. And she's like, that's dumb. And you know it. And he's like, I know it, but I don't feel it. They broke me. I'm not what you think I am. I'm no Radiant. And then Rock shows up. And Kaladin has found an amethyst brome in this puddle. And he's like, this would be riches if we were still bridgemen. And Rock's like, we are still bridgemen, and I'm going to use these riches. The spices they have for us to requisition are Tuma Alki. I promise I will not fix dung for the men, but it's hard, with soldiers being accustomed to food that's not much better. Okay, Rock, yeah, use your extra money to buy spices. Why not? And then he still lands on his shoulder, so he tries to bow to his own shoulder. That's a picture. And Kaladin's like, stop tormenting him. And she's like, but it's so fun. And he says, you are to be praised for your aid of us. I will endure whatever you wish of me. And now that I'm free, I can craft a shrine fitting to you. And she's like, ooh, a shrine.
Oh boy, Syl.
I want just a whole chapter of Rock and Syl, just on their adventures. Like that would be so much fun.
I love that.
We could bring back the Vin and Orser song.
Yeah.
Rock and Syl, best friends.
Rock and Syl being best friends together forever. The fun never ends. Solving mysteries. One, I don't know.
Storm at a time.
Yeah, sure. One storm at a time. Rock and Syl, two of a kind.
Good job.
Thanks.
You adapted that very quickly.
Sure. That's what I do here on the Sanderlanche podcast. I adapt.
We find out that the bridgemen they brought down here are really starting to open up. How did you know this thing would happen? And he's like, they were there in Sadeas's war camp. They heard the stories about about our training down here. By bringing them here, it's like an invitation. And then he's like, okay, well, Sigzil says that he's ready to start like testing your abilities. Kaladin's like, all right, let's do this. And that's where we leave off on Kaladin for this section. Maybe that means when we come back, he'll be testing out his abilities. That'll be interesting. Do some science. Red Carpet Once White. Shortest chapter in the book. 6 years ago. Which is roughly the same time as like the early Kaladin flashbacks, if I recall. Or no, maybe that was the later Kaladin flashbacks. Because he was in the army for 4 years and then a slave for 1 year. So I guess it would have been pretty close. Anyway, the world ended and Shallan was to blame. And her dad is carrying her and says, pretend it never happened. I'll protect you.
This is not good stuff.
And then he starts singing her a lullaby about go to sleep in chasms deep, which feels weird that we're at the Shattered Plains with all the chasms.
Yeah, go to sleep in chasms deep just sounds terrifying in general. Like,
so was Rockabye Baby, so.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but it's just like, I don't know that that's something I want to do. Sleep in a deep chasm.
Might be real peaceful.
I'm clearly already in distress, and you want me to think about going into a deep dark chasm to go to sleep. Like, yeah. Okay.
It's just not super soothing.
Yeah, and that's not even factoring in the monsters down there.
Yeah.
There's chasm fiends. That's part of the lullaby. We just don't get to it, you know.
Yeah. Also, but I mean, it does talk about the storms. I was like, the chasms are a terrible place to be in the storms. That's where you drown.
Also true.
Yeah, none of this is adding up at all. Her dad's weird.
The rock and dread may be your bed, so sleep, my baby. Now comes the storm, but you'll be warm. The wind will rock your basket. Okay, so I mean, I feel like this is absolutely based on like Rockabye Baby, where it's just horrifying when you think about it.
Yeah.
But as they're walking away from a room, dark corpses stretched out on the floor, a red carpet once white. And she's thinking that she doesn't deserve affection. A monster should not be held in love. A monster who killed, who murdered. Father carried Shallan over the body of a woman in white. Little blood there. It was the man who bled. Mother lay face down, so Shallan couldn't see the eyes. The horrible eyes.
Oh, no.
They passed Father's strongbox set into the wall. It glowed brightly, light streaming from the cracks around the closed door. A monster was inside. Father, with Shallan in his arms, Father left the room and closed the door on the corpses. So, yeah, singing the lullaby this whole time. This is a very creepy flashback, I have to say.
Big what the fuck going on right now stuff.
Dead bodies, including her mother, it sounds like. So
yeah, just a joyous childhood.
Yeah. Then we get a map of the southern Frostlands with a note from Naz that says Shallan made landfall here. So I wonder how Naz figured that out. But he apparently felt it important to put that on a map.
Maybe he was working for Crazy Vaclav. That's just part of his cover in this world.
Could be. An illusion of perception is this chapter. And Navani's journal entry says, understandably, we were focused on Sadeas. His betrayal was still fresh. We knew Sadeas would not simply rest upon his slaughters in pride. More was coming. So she's saying, like, bad stuff was coming, but we were focusing the wrong direction, essentially. So Shallan wakes up on some rocks. And when she looks back, she sees the shell of the Santhid in the water. It had rescued her. And she sees Pattern and is like, did anyone else make it? And he's like, make? Other people, the sailors, did they escape? He's like, I don't know. I didn't see anything. And she wonders, like, how intelligent is the Santid? How did it know what to do? Like, that I needed saving and how to save me. And then she's like, why am I thinking about this when, like, I nearly drowned, Jasnah's dead, the crew of the Wind's Pleasure probably also dead. That's what you do, a deeply buried part of herself accused. You distract yourself. You refuse to think about the things that bother you. But that was how she survived. And so she's not happy about Jasnah being gone. She's like, I don't think any of us are thrilled with the idea of Jasnah being dead.
Not thrilled. We're just not buying it.
Well, yeah, that's fair too. Maybe that's why you're not buying it, because you don't want to.
We are all in the denial phase.
Exactly. Yep. And so eventually she's like, well, I mean, we can't just sit here forever. I guess let's go. And she doesn't have shoes because, as Jamie pointed out, she was sleeping. Why would she have had shoes on? So she's got to walk over these rocks. And remember, this land, there's no soil. Everything is rock. So unless you're up in Shinobar. So yeah, she's just walking over sharp rocks with no feet or no shoes on. no feet. That would be unpleasant.
My God.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Santid took a price.
It's like, I'll save you, but these feet are mine. I specifically like the toes. I don't have those.
She also has to. She's not on the shore at first. She's like on a rock near the shore before it gets too shallow, and so she's worried about going into the water to get to the shore because she's like, oh, I know about a dozen different kinds of large crustaceans who would love to snip a leg free and chew on it. So that's nice.
I think it was like one of the books in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King had like Roland like was just on a beach for most of the book and being attacked by these crab monsters.
Nice.
Yeah. Sequel.
So she decides after she gets over here she wants to build a fire, but will that just signal like will that signal people to come rescue her, or pirates, bandits, the assassins if they survived? And she's like, okay, well, I got to build a fire to keep warm or else this is going to be real bad. She's in what is called the Frostlands, so probably not going to be a nice night without something to warm her.
Yeah. They don't call it the Frostlands for nothing.
And she's like, oh man, I've never actually started a fire. I have servants for that kind of thing. And then Pattern's like, hey, come over here. And she's like, oh, did you find someone? Yes. Except not a something. It's one of Jasnah's trunks. And it was waterproofed, or the stuff inside was waterproofed well enough that she thinks, well, Jasnah didn't survive, but her life's work did. So that's something. And then she builds a little fire pit and can't figure out how to start a fire. So it's like, okay, how about we go to Shadesmar and try to soulcast a fire, since we know that is a thing that you can soulcast. We saw Jasnah do it. Or no, did she turn a guy into smoke? We've seen her turn stuff into fire, but I was thinking a guy, but I don't think she did a guy. She turned a guy into smoke. So she's like, let's try this. And Pattern says, it's dangerous. What is land here is sea there. Which explains why previously when she made the transition, she started drowning in like the sea of beads. But when she did it on the boat, that was not a problem.
Place is so confusing.
Yeah, right. I mean, and if you think back to Secret History, Kelsier meets Naz and Chris. They're camping out where a lake was, where like Lake Tyrion or something was in the physical realm. So this actually may be a consistent thing.
Kelsier was just walking across the land, and Vandy could also walk across the sea.
Yes, Kelsier, who was like not.
He didn't have a body. Yeah.
Oh, point.
Yeah, and when he was in the well and he saw Sexy Drifter had a boat, had a corpse boat. So.
Yep. Also true.
Oh, okay. Got to ride the body on the bees. Beads.
Ride the walrus.
Ride the walrus.
And so Shallan is very tired, but she's gonna try this, and she makes her way like half into Shadesmar, although she's dangerously close to falling into completely, and that's not good. And she goes, please, I need you to become fire. And the sphere, which is representing a stick, says, I am a stick. You could be fire. I am a stick. Why don't you become fire instead? I am a stick. And that's about how this entire section goes.
Yeah, at least he wasn't rude. At least he's not like, shut up, I'm a stick.
She's like, I've got all the stormlight you can have. Won't that be great?
He's like a Pokemon. His name is I am a stick, and that's all he can say.
I am Groot. I am a stick. Yeah, it fits.
Yeah.
Sticks need stormlight for things.
Stick making.
And then her stormlight runs out, and it didn't work, and she's unhappy. And there is a bonus chapter that Brandon released once. Hold on. Or a deleted interlude called Stick, released in 2014.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
I will, hold on, let me take a screenshot of this.
It's got to be just like, this has got to be a joke. It's kind of like that whole thing about, oh yeah, George R. R. Martin released a chapter of the book from Hodor's perspective, and it was just Hodor.
It is much like that when you look at the screenshot, yes.
Jesus Christ.
And if you notice, it was released on April 1st, 2014.
Natch. So
yes, the I Am a Stick is interlude is a big hit because as you might or might not expect, Stick became a very popular character after this.
Do people go
love Stick.
To like the con dressed as Stick?
You know, I think some of them might have. I have a T-shirt with a stick that in a speech bubble coming out that says "I am a stick." So, and actually, I wore that out somewhere, and that's I have several like Cosmere related T-shirts. That is the only one that I've ever had a random person at somewhere I went recognize and be like, "Oh my gosh, is that from a Stormlight book?" And I was like, "Yes, it is." So there you go.
Nice.
So Jasnah, having failed, she's like, "Pattern, what can I do?" And he's like, "I don't know, offer the change." And she goes, "I tried that." I know. His vibrations sounded depressed.
You said Jasnah, you meant Shallan, right?
Oh, yes. That is the thing that I meant. No, Jasnah is secretly here also.
Wait, what? She's the stick. Oh God, I just figured it out, guys.
Oh, that's why the song he picked for this book is Amnesia.
Yeah, Jasnah the stick.
Jasnah the stick.
If there had been a song about a stick, we would have gone for that one.
You broke my stick.
So Shallan decides, well, if my choices are sit here and freeze to death or freeze to death trying to find help, I guess I'll do the second one. And she forces herself up away from her not fire and starts walking.
Just hears a sad voice go, "I am a stick," behind her.
And then she stumbles right into a small group of people sitting around a campfire and passes out. And so sometime later, someone's like, "Brightness, are you feeling well?" "Yes." And she's like, "It's a Thalian accent. Is it the sailors from my ship?" But no, it is a merchant. "You are well then? We were going to pack to go, you see. Your arrival last night was unexpected. We thought perhaps you would want to wake before we depart." And she realizes, it's not a merchant exactly. These are slavers.
No, that's still a form of merchanting.
Yeah.
Just a very immoral one.
And so she kind of freaks out for a second. And it's like, no, calm down. They wouldn't have politely awakened you if they were planning on doing something messed up. Selling a foreign woman of high dawn, which the dress marked her as being, would be a risky gambit for a slaver. And I like this idea that it's like, usually someone of higher breeding would simply be executed instead. Slavery was a mercy reserved for the lower class. I'm sure it feels very merciful to them. "I am Tavlakov, humble merchant." So did you guys call who it was before we got to that point, or?
Nope.
I thought it might be him because of the knit cap, but I didn't know for sure. I was like, well, maybe that's like a thing all the merchants wear is knit caps.
No, I missed it.
We really wouldn't know. I guess we haven't seen that many merchants. I guess we saw a couple in like that one interlude where they're at Shinovar and trading.
You are wearing
mentioned.
You are wearing a cotton cap. You are hereby exiled from the Merchant Guild.
And she does note that like that sphere she was holding is gone. They probably took that, she thought, but they hadn't touched the stuff in her safe pouch. So
they unbuttoned my safe hand. How dare they?
Scandalo.
And so she's like, how would Jasnah handle this? The answer was simple. She would be Jasnah. And so Shallan goes, "I will allow you to assist me."
I fucking love this move.
Vlaki was like, "Brightness?" She's like, "As you can see, I am the victim of a shipwreck. My servants are lost to me. You and your men will do. I have a trunk. We will need to go and fetch it." He's like, yeah, it would of course be our privilege to help. And she's like, "Okay, well, I need to go to the Shattered Plains. Do you know the way?" And he's like, "Well, we were at the Shattered Plains a few months ago, but we're heading to catch a barge to Thalana now. We finished our training. We have no need to return northward." And she's like, but you do have a need to return to take me." And the guy's like, "Huh. Well, it'll be an expensive trip for us without something to sell when we get there. I have only these slaves I purchased at the Shallow Crypts, not enough to justify the trip back yet." And she's like, "I assure you, tradesman Tavlakov, the expense is minuscule to me. You will be greatly compensated. Now, let's get moving. There are important people waiting for me at the Shattered Plains. And he's like, look, just the shallow crypts are a lot closer. Why don't you just let us take you there? You've clearly had a difficult time, so this will be way better. Did I ask to be taken to the shallow crypts? I know what I'm doing, and thank you for the advice. Now let us be moving. So she's not fucking around. I might have agreed to go to like a larger settlement or city that was close by instead of forcing these complete strangers to take me somewhere. But she's Jasnah-ing it. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, if you don't take me there straight away, I'm going to write to the Queen Mother, Navani Colin, and tell her that you held up getting Adolin Colin's bride to him, and then you can deal with her.
And that
possibly
would be a card to pull out.
And possibly Adolin himself. It's like, you kept a woman from me? How fucking dare you?
The renowned duelist? Yeah, you don't want to mess with him.
Yeah.
And I love that they're just like, okay then. And they hitch up the Chulls, they go get her trunk, and they start heading towards the Shattered Plains. So Jasnah's lesson seems to be working. Act like a queen, and people will treat you like a queen. And that was the end of our section. We made it through there pretty quick. We are now 14% of the way through the book already, so look at that. And as I mentioned last time, there's only one more chapter left in part 1. So moving into predigments, I will give you guys the names of the next chapters. The last chapter of part 1 is called Hero, and we're going to read 3 chapters next time. So the first 2 interludes also. Interlude 1 is called Narak, Narak, and interlude 2 is called, I'm not actually sure how you pronounce this. I'm going to go with Yim. It is YM is the name of the chapter. The letter Y, the letter M.
Do we get to know who narrates them?
They're interludes. So in the previous book, if I remember correctly, hold on, we're going to go back.
They had the names at the start each time.
Yeah, I think the title of the chapter each time was the name of the person the chapter was about, if I remember it right. So hold on, I'm going to go double check to make sure I'm not crazy. So, okay, no, not all the time. Like the first interludes were Ishik, which was from Ishik's perspective, Nanbalat, which was from his perspective, but the Seth one was called The Glory of Ignorance. And maybe that's just because we had repeated Seth interludes, so if you named all of them Seth, it would be hard to tell them apart. But other than the Seth ones, I think that, yeah, we have the Ryson one, Axes the Collector, so they seem to be named after the person in them, except for the Seth ones.
Fair enough.
But does that mean that this one will be the same? Who knows?
Don't know. I get the feeling Hero is going to be Kaladin, just because that's what Syl was calling him. So maybe it's... I'm kind of stuck on, aside from the Jasnah prediction, which we've already covered, Dalinar's chapter ended on, an old friend is coming to the Shattered Plains. And like that seems like a very blunt hook.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. That was a kind of an important end to that chapter, huh?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, wild theory. I can't see it really happening, but maybe like the old friend that Dalinar meets up with is someone Kaladin knows, and like that's like the smack for the end of for the end of part 1. But I'm just like, well, who would he know? And it's like, well, really the only option would be probably Amaram. I'm like, I can't see Dalinar and Amaram like hanging out, but
oh yeah, that's weird.
But I don't know. I've got no one else that it could be. No other candidates. If we have to assume, it's going to be someone that Kaladin knows because Kaladin ends, because like again, a hero. That sounds like a Kaladin thing. Then yeah, like that's the only person I can think of that the two of them would believably know.
Yeah, it's not really believable. It's like Dalinar's old buddies with Kaladin's dad. Who knew? Or
yeah.
Even someone like Rashon, who was kind of a low-level Light Eyes, wouldn't.
Yeah, no, he was there. He wasn't important enough. Maybe it's fucking Axes the Collector, and it turns out they all 3 of them have history together we didn't know about.
That'd be great, actually.
Yeah, but
I mean, maybe Amaram's important enough that Dalinar could know him, even though Amaram like works under Sadeas. But I mean, Dalinar and Sadeas are old friends, right? So okay.
Well, yeah, but like noble lords tended to know each other fairly well, even if they had different liege lords. And such, like if they were famous enough. And Dalinar seemed like the guy, he knew everyone who was fairly martial. Amaram was military. I don't know this for certain, but like I just don't know who else it could be.
All right.
Like even if you take the possible Kaladin connection out of it, I'm like, well, who else like is Dalinar gonna meet up with? Like an old friend who's coming to stay. The only other candidate would be Wit, which I guess we can't rule out, and I really want to see Wit back again. Like, is Wit just going to rock up with was it Talonel with him?
Right. Yeah.
Like that could also be an interesting fallout, but I don't know how likely that is because I feel like we're not ready for Wit yet.
Does Wit send you a letter before he shows up?
No, not really. He just kind of appears.
For what it's worth, Wit was my prediction.
Okay. Jamie's like, let me go ahead and get that in here.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think there's merit.
I totally forgot to bring that up when we got there, so I'm glad that you remembered. So maybe you're right. Maybe section 1 or part 1 will end with, and we'll find out, or we'll have to be like 10 chapters before we find out. Oh, by the way, it was Steve, this guy that you never met.
Steve, Dalinar's best bud.
Yeah, maybe it's Gavilar's bodyguard who just seemed to disappear after that prologue.
That's true. Yeah. What happened to him? Fired, probably, for failure of bodyguarding.
Speaking of Gavilar, we know that at least Gavilar knew Amaram because they were hanging out in Jasnah's prologue.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
So, yeah, they could know each other that way.
He was trying to hook him up with his daughter. It was kind of creepy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on here. Hero, I agree with Dak. That's got to be a Kaladin perspective, I feel like. And I also agree that it's possibly Amaram, and for the same reasons. I was thinking about that while he was talking, that like in the prologue, Amaram's talking to Gavilar. So like if you knew Gavilar, you probably knew Dalinar. And so it's very possible that is who they're talking about. When I first read this section, I thought he was talking about Jasnah. It did strike me as odd that he would refer to Jasnah in his head as an old friend, but that's just who I assumed because she had already written, I think, and said that she was on the way. So that's who I thought he was talking about at first in his head, but I was like, but that's a weird way to refer to her. So yeah, I think it might be Amaram, and so that's gonna bring up tension between Kaladin and Dalinar for sure.
Yeah, it would.
And so yeah, I think that's definitely a good possibility. I agree with Dak on that one. As to the interludes and stuff, I mean, I don't know. With names like those, I'm not sure what we could expect.
Right.
I feel like all of those outside perspective characters, they bring us like something, at least in the first book, except for one interlude where there were ghost blood guys, they bring us something that like is relevant to the overall world and the story that's being told, but it's not directly related to this, to like this specific narrative, except for the Seth chapters. So like if we've got these two characters that we've never heard their names before, I would think that they're just going to be more like tertiary perspectives of what's going on in the world at large, and not specific to like our characters in the story that's happening right at this very moment. That would be my guess anyway. But yeah, I think some of my other theories are going to hold true. Like Shallan, I think will make it to the Shattered Plains, I guess with the Slaver, which is interesting. And so yeah, I'm interested to know, like, because we all three of us are now feeling like, oh, Jasnah's not dead, so like what's going to happen? Is she gonna like show up right at the end and be like, hey guys, it's me? Or like,
I was alive all along.
Yeah, exactly. Or are we not even gonna get her for the rest of the book and we're gonna be left hanging? That would be interesting too. So she may come in right at the end with a hero moment and be like, I'm saving you all from yourselves or something. But anyway, be interesting to know. I don't really know how much time, like if Dak's right and she went to Shadesmar, like I don't know how much time she spent in Shadesmar, but like we've already seen that like when Shallan goes, her spren like has its Shadesmar form, I guess, or a different form. And so it'd be interesting if she just like spent a bunch of time in Shadesmar for the rest of the book and just like learned a bunch of stuff. That seems like the kind of thing she would do. And so yeah, I'm interested to know if she does come back, which I feel like she will. I feel like we're right. I don't feel like this is the end for her character. It would be a very unceremonious end for such an interesting character. If we're right and she comes back, I'm excited to see what form that's going to take, what that's going to look like. So
I like the idea of if she were to come back, that we maybe don't hear or see anything of her for the rest of the book, and then right when things are looking their darkest at the end of the book, she gets her hero moment and saves the day. That could be really cool.
Yeah. It's not, I don't know that that's her normal like forte, coming in and swooping in and saving the day, but it's could still be cool.
with research, I'll save the day.
Sure. And just cause I'm feeling like not emotional, but like I'm feeling like the love today. I'm gonna like pair off our characters. So I think Shallan's gonna end up with Renarin. I think I mentioned that before. I think she's gonna be like Adeline, not so much. Renarin, I like. And then I think Kaladin's gonna end up with Jasnah. I think that'd be an interesting match.
Interesting. Yeah, because once again, he doesn't like Light Eyes as a rule, so that would definitely be an interesting relationship development that we have to watch there.
Well, he doesn't like Light Eyes, but he liked that one Light Eyes girl in his town until she became a jerk.
That's true too. I mean, that was before he kind of developed his aversion to all Light Eyes, I think, but
yeah,
that might have contributed to it actually.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if we saw Jasnah again and she met up with Kaladin, would they get along?
I don't know. I mean, he's a strong, intelligent, independent guy. She's a strong, intelligent, independent woman. You know, it could work.
Yeah.
Like Kaladin takes no bullshit. Jasnah don't give no bullshit.
Interesting point. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that their morality lines up quite the same because I can't see Kaladin like murdering those 3 guys in the alley, like going and finding these guys and killing them. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, maybe he softens her and she like in that way, and she softens him to like Light Eyes, you know?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like this.
And, you know, she acts like all high and mighty, but then he's like, you know, you don't gotta put on that act with me.
You're my forever girl.
Whoa, what's that from?
Avatar: The Last Airbender. When he's having the weird hallucinations.
That is a weird, yeah. My girlfriend is the moon.
My first girlfriend turned into the moon. That's rough.
Yeah. Also, I like how Zuko takes that in stride. He's just like, which I know he was like there kind of, but it's like, he's just like, that's rough, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know how much of what happened there he actually knows.
Right, because he was very solely after Aang, so like, who knows what he knows about those events? But at the same time, he's just like, that's rough, man. It's like,
and he almost certainly didn't know that Sokka was
back.
dating her or whatever.
Right,
so.
No fighting back on the fact that a woman turned into the moon. He's just like, nah, that's rough.
Like throughout seasons 1 and 2, he really didn't seem that interested in Sokka at all. Like
Sokka keeps coming up to oppose him, and he's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, he's like, yeah, he was after Aang. Katara kept giving him shit, and he thought he could get to Aang through her. And Sokka was just the other guy for him for most of the time. And then he starts hanging out with the team and realizes, wait, this guy's in charge.
I mean, in the very first episode when they meet, it's like he just like humiliates Sokka and tosses him off to the side. He's like completely irrelevant, and I feel like. Yeah. That first impression doesn't change until that way later in season 3.
Well, Sokka did get that hit on him with the boomerang same episode.
Yeah. That seems almost accidental. I mean, he threw a boomerang. It was going to come back. He knew this, but
he still got like Zuko with it.
It's true. You're not wrong. So, classic. What a great show. Sorry.
Yeah.
We could dive into the Avatar: The Last Airbender hole for a long time.
Yeah. You guys want a new podcast? We'll do the Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast. I'm sure it's been done.
I'm sure that it has. I mean, you have to find somebody. I want to find somebody who hasn't seen that. Show them that for the first time. That could be fun.
That could be.
I mean, our toddler's got a lot to say on it at the moment. So
she is quite the fan of Zuko.
Really? Interesting choice. Yeah. All right. Somebody got to like Zuko. It's fine.
She wants to help with the ouchie on his eye.
Aww. She's like, he needs help.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to pick her up from daycare one day, and one of the educators in there has got like a birthmark over his eye, and he goes, "You've been watching Avatar?" And I said, "Oh, she has watched Avatar, yeah." He goes, "Yeah, she's calling herself Uncle Iroh with the bun in her hair, and she's calling me Zuko." I was like, sorry.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's amazing.
He took it in stride, which was great, but I was like, oh my god. As a parent, that was the first moment that I was like, oh my god. I'm so sorry.
At least he knew what she was talking about. Like, it wasn't like he's like, who the heck is Zuko? What is she talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, to his credit, he could speak her language, so that's fine. Predictions. I mean, look, yeah, I've kind of already spoken about mine. I don't have anything at length, really. Jasnah's not dead. If she was actually dead, I still don't think we'd see the end. Like, I feel like she would take that cognitive realm path a bit like Kelthia did, and it would be cool to then see her help. I mean, Shallan in particular, because she can go into Shadesmar, but it would be interesting to see if she could then help shape like the Knights Radiant as because presumably there's more of them. They would be able to do that, but also to have some interaction with the Spren on the other side, maybe try and force their hand a little bit to come on over. Like that could be pretty cool. But I do think in some form we will see Jasnah again. So I'm gonna stick with that. I think we're all sticking with that. But okay. I think it's more than just denial. Also, just the fact that the end of the chapters that we read last week, she was really tired and she was studying profusely, and I have this feeling she knew something was going to happen. Maybe not necessarily what, but she seemed quite on edge and quite tired, and yeah. Maybe she just didn't like traveling on the ocean. Who knows? But I feel like she knew something was coming. It just feels a bit strange to all be effectively the same night. And yeah, my other one was that Wit would be the person that's coming back.
Okay.
I don't necessarily see Wit being the one to write the letter, but he's written letters to other people. You know, maybe if you wanted to sort of reach out to Dalinar, I mean, he's definitely got some things to tell, especially in the lead up to the Everstorm coming and all the destruction that's about to take place. You know, I'd like to see him come back soon, but you know, maybe it's not. Maybe it is Amaram, and then that's a whole other kettle of fish for Kaladin to deal with. Could be anyone. They could just bring someone else in. You know, we can have new characters, I guess.
It's true. New characters are allowed.
There's room for other people. You know, maybe it is someone we've met in passing. But yeah, other than that, like the story's still going. We're still getting Shallan moving to the Shattered Plains. Her journey has just switched from water to land now, and obviously solo. I am assuming that Navani's diary entries coincide with our deadline. So she's talking about the things we should have seen coming and all those signs, and you know, so like somewhere in the next 50 to 60 days, I think is probably where we're coming in here. If she's writing about Jasnah's death, how would she know that? Realistically, Shallan is probably the only one that would know, that would also bother telling the family that had happened, unless they like miss their next port and someone reports it through or something that the ship's gone. So I'm hopeful that we end up getting Shallan to the Shattered Plains fairly quickly, and I would like to see them all starting to figure out what's going on. I'd be interested to see if Patton and Syl would interact with each other, because we only really got a glimpse of Jasnah's Spren, but there was not, like, Patton didn't really exist in the same kind of form yet, so there was no chance for them to interact. It would be interesting to see how two of these higher Spren might interact. And Syl knows of the cryptic, but doesn't know what they are, and maybe they can fill some gaps for each other. Be cool.
Well, and she seemed like deeply offended. She's like, "What do you think I am? Some kind of cryptic?" So she didn't know what they are, but she apparently is not a big fan. So you're right. There could be some interesting interaction there.
Yeah, that's really all I've got there.
Okay. I like the prediction that Wit maybe is the one that the letter's about. Wit is coming back. I was gonna say that you're right. That, you know, if it was Amaram like the others are guessing, then that is a big deal for Kaladin. Wit less so. Although, I mean, maybe it would still be a big deal, because last time Wit and Kaladin met, he was like, "Learn how to play this flute." We haven't seen Kaladin practicing any flute, so I don't know. He might be in trouble.
Wit will get back and be like, "Dude, I gave you one job.
You had one job to do."
Yeah, but I mean, Kaladin doesn't know that was Wit. So, like, they both know. Obviously, both he and Dalinar know him, but don't know who. Like, Dalinar sort of knows who he is on one level, and Kaladin knows who he is on one level, but we know that he's just an enigma of all sorts of things going on there.
I think he did tell Kaladin that, like, he had the job as King's Wit, because they had a discussion about what being witty means. But
yeah. No, fair enough. I think that's probably 3 characters I'd like to sit down in a room and have a chat.
Yeah, I can see that. Also, this idea that Jasnah maybe doesn't come back alive. Maybe it's like what if she was a Force ghost like Kelsier somehow, and she could help things as a Force ghost. That would be a very different take on it. And I do really like what you mentioned though about like she could be going around in Shadesmar talking to some of the Spren and learning or influencing them, because Syl tells us in this chapter she's the only honor Spren that is doing this. None of the other ones are willing to come, and the Stormfather has forbidden them from coming. So that seems like something that our characters might want to change if possible.
Very true. And it's just honestly, the researcher in Jasnah would probably love it.
True, yeah. But at the same time, she would be out there looking for some way to make a difference. That's kind of what she was so upset about with Shallan, is she couldn't figure out how they were going to make a difference here, because she learned or thinks she's learned this thing about the Parshmen, but she can't figure out how to do something about it because no one will listen. So if she could find some way to make a difference, she might be really on board.
Yep.
So yes, I like this. Okay.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Just imagining like she encounters Kelsier in the cognitive realm, and Kelsier's like, yeah, I had to get punted by preservation and infused with his power in order to remain in the cognitive realm. And Jasnah's just like, fucking pansy.
What a loser. Yeah.
Jasnah starts talking about the ghost bloods. Just like,
hate those guys. Those fucking ghost bloods keep trying to kill me. They did kill me. How messed up is that? Killed me with a sword, Mal. How weird is that?
And Kelsier's like, oh dear.
What if that's the future power couple right there, is Jasnah and Kelsier?
Gross.
I mean, Kelsier's never been a fan of noble people either, so
yep.
He and Kaladin might agree on that, honestly. All right, let's get into. We have a little bit of time here. We have one new patron and a couple of new emails that we can read, and so I'll start with emails. But one or two of these emails has a review attached, Joe. So we're gonna need your review thing.
Okay.
So the first email is from Spencer. It says, reactions and review. Hello, Sanderlanche crew. I emailed Data almost a year ago when I was early in my first time read, wondering about how safe it was to listen along if I was reading in a different order. And then in parentheses, it wasn't. But I'm happy to report that I finished my read through and am very close to finishing my listen through of this podcast. It was definitely more rewarding to wait, as I could catch things from early on that I had context for after having read everything. Joe, I'm emailing right now because I just got to the episode where you gave me my Patreon feruchemy power. It was Tin/Wind Whispering. I wanted to wait to give you a chance to play around with whatever my Twinborn setup might be, so my Spotify review is attached. Dak, there are some characters in The Way of Kings that I'm very happy you feel the way you do, and some that have me a bit distraught, but I have confidence they'll either win you over or make you turn against them as appropriate. Maybe they already have, as I still have a dozen episodes to go before I'm fully caught up. I love the way that that's phrased. It's like, look, I like your opinion on some characters. I don't like your opinion on some characters. Maybe you'll turn whichever way I want you to turn. Perfectly written.
I can't do anything with that. I don't know.
Well, I know, but it also doesn't spoil anything at all, so I appreciate it.
I guess. I get the feeling Moash has to be one of those because that keeps coming up in emails. So
so either he likes that you don't like Moash, or he's upset that you don't like Moash.
Yeah.
One of those. I also have to say that I think The Way of Kings is probably one of the hardest books in the Cosmere to make predictions for. You don't even know what you don't know. You've read through part 5, but for example, everyone was sure that both Soulcasters worked when that doesn't make sense in hindsight. That's still the case, even in more recent books, but at least there's more groundwork by then. The Way of Kings, the book of many prologues, is in itself almost a prologue for the whole Stormlight Archive. Things are definitely going to ramp up from here. From Spencer. And then he attached his Spotify 5-star review.
Spencer, you seem like a nice guy. So what can I say? You could be a compounder. How would you like that, sir? So, sure. Give you the old tin misting power as well. So compound it up.
Yeah, you could soup up your eyesight so well, or your hearing. Just hear everything, like that girl in Encanto.
Yeah, do we even know, like, what that kind of compounding would accomplish?
Well, we know the compounding, like, gives you an extreme level of whatever the feruchemy power was. And with senses, apparently you have to store like different senses in different metal mines, I think is what we learned. So you could be really good at one of them at a time. And I also have been theorizing that because Wax's sister told us that she'd figure out a way to like not feel pain. And I've been theorizing that that could be a tin thing where she's putting it in a metal mine. So you could feel a whole lot of pain, an infinite amount of pain if you wanted to. How awesome would that be?
That'd be pretty sweet.
Okay. Thank you, Spencer. That was a good email.
Know what you do? You know what you do? Sorry.
Yeah,
Just thought about this. You know what you do? You take that intense pain feeling, you put it in one of them grenades. Bam.
Oh, yep. There you go.
Got a throwable Cruciatus curse on your hands.
I don't remember if the grenades work with ferrochemy. I think it may just be allomancy. Maybe maybe you can make one that may work with ferrochemy. I don't know.
That's disappointing.
Actually, we have one more email, but I'm going to save that for next time. We're going to go over to our new patron. If anyone would like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us in other places like X and Facebook and Patreon, where this person has found us. Just thought I'd get that out of the way while we're talking about it. On our Patreon at the moment is mostly my reactions to books, Sanderson books, as I'm reading them for the first time. You can see lots of episodes of that, which I hope that our new patron is enjoying. It is our new misting level patron is Laura.
Laura, you're a steel runner. Why not?
It's a good one. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, check out the Patreon if you'd like to do that. We also, I think that I have our merchandise store just about ready to go up with a few different designs. So that if you want some stuff on a t-shirt or in some cases tote bag or phone case or something like that, hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I will have added the link to the merch store to our website. So if you go to www.thesanderlanche.com, on desktop, there's a series of links at the top, which includes our Patreon. It includes a link to join the Discord, and I'm going to add a link to our merch store. If you are on mobile, you have to hit the little menu icon to drop down these clickable options. But
hamburger.
Check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. There's a couple designs that I hired someone to professionally make, and I think they look pretty good. And then there's a couple that I made myself, which probably don't look as good. So I bet you can figure out the difference between them. So yeah, check that stuff out if you want. All the places you can find us on the interwebs. Remember, we're doing 3 chapters for next time. That's chapter 12, and then interludes 1 and 2 for this book. The numbers start over again. Music by Miracle of Sound. And wasing to the time of next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crab at thee.
You forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain, but you're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.